So it is 7:31 p.m. on Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Klein, and I am the chair of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. I am calling this meeting of the board to order. First, I'd like to confirm that all members and anticipated officials are present. From the Board of Appeals, we have Roger DuPont.
Here.
Patrick Hanlon.
Here.
Venkat Hawley.
Here.
Adam LeBlanc.
Here.
And our two associates, Brad Barnowski.
Here.
And Nicholas Rosenberg.
Here.
Great to have you all with us. We also have with us Colleen Ralston, who is our clerk and zoning assistant.
Here.
Good to have you with us. The first two items on our agenda do not need representation, so I don't think they're here. That would be 190 Mystic Valley Parkway, which is we're going to be voting to accept a withdrawal, and 307 Washington Street, which is going to has requested a continuance. But then the other items on our agenda for docket 3886 53 Hodge Road. Is there someone here representing the applicant?
Christian, Dan's just coming in now.
Oh, okay. Then moving on, docket 3887 71 Mystic Street. Is there someone speaking in favor?
Yes, I'm here. Bill Mahoney. Thank you.
Bill Mahoney, great, thank you. And for docket 3873 125 Broadway, I believe I saw
John Leone here for Eli.
Okay. And then just checking again for number 3886 53 Hodge Road. Is the applicant available? Dan Cameron, is that?
I'm sorry. Yes, Dan Cameron's here.
Perfect. Thank you. So tonight's meeting of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted remotely, consistent with the bill signed by Governor Healy on March 28, 2025, which extended temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to June 30th, 2027. The extension of these provisions allows public bodies to hold their meetings remotely by providing live, adequate alternative means of public access to the deliberations. This meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast by ACMi. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom and who wish to offer public comment should be aware that they will be asked to provide their full name and address so that a complete public record of the meeting can be taken in accordance with state law. All participants of this meeting are advised that people may be listening to the meeting without offering public comment, and those people are not required to identify themselves. Any votes that are taken this evening will be conducted by roll call vote. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. As chair, I reserve the right to take items out of order in the interest of promoting an orderly meeting. As the board will be taking up new business at this meeting, as chair, I make the following land acknowledgement. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington, Massachusetts discusses and arbitrates the use of land in Arlington, formerly known as Menotomy, an Algonquin word meaning swift waters, the board hereby acknowledges that the town of Arlington is located on the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts tribe, the tribe of indigenous peoples from whom the colony, province, and commonwealth have taken their names. We pay our respects to the ancestral bloodline of the Massachusetts tribe and their descendants who still inhabit historic Massachusetts territories today. Cool. So moving on to our agenda, item number one, the first items are administrative items. These items relate to the operation of the board and as such are generally conducted without input from the general public. Board will not take up any new business on any prior hearings, nor will there be the introduction of any new information on matters previously brought before the board. So item one on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from our January 27th, 2026 meeting. These meetings were prepared by our clerk, distributed to the board for questions and comments, and I believe a final version came out towards the end of last week. Are there any additional comments in regards to the minutes from January 27th? Seeing none. I'll move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington approve the minutes of the January 27th, 2026 meeting of the board. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. The roll call vote of the board for approval. Mr. Hanlon,
Second. I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. That is approved. That brings us to item 2, approval of the decision on number 388426 Reed Street. This was a decision that was written by Patrick Hanlon, distributed to the board for questions and comments. Final version posted this afternoon. Are there any additional comments in regards to the written decision in 26 Reed Street? Seeing none, I move the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington approve and adopt the written decision in docket 388426 Reed Street, which grants a special permit for a porch within the front yard setback under sections 539 and 813 in the zoning bylaw.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. The roll call vote of the board. So Mr. Dupont was not present for the hearing. So Mr. Baranowski will be standing in. So we have a vote of 5 members. So with that, we have Mr. Hanlon.
Second. I'm sorry. I did it again. Yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc.
I was not present for that.
Oh, you
one.
were not present as well. And then
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenberg has to vote then. Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So that is approved. So that brings us to our public hearings. Before opening tonight's meeting for public hearings, here are some ground rules for clear and effective conduct of tonight's business. After I announce each agenda item, I will ask the applicant to introduce himself or themselves to make their presentation to the board. I'll then request that members of the board ask what questions they have on the proposal. After the board's questions have been answered, I will open the meeting for public comment. At the conclusion of public comment, the board will deliberate and vote to either continue or close the public hearing. All votes will be conducted by roll call vote. The final vote on any matter before the board will be taken at a subsequent meeting once the written decision has been drafted and provided to the board. After the decision has been adopted and signed, the decision will be filed with the town clerk, starting the 20-day appeal period under state law. After that time, the applicant may proceed with their building permit. However, under state law, no decision granted by this board shall take effect until a certified copy of the final decision has been filed with and recorded at the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds in Cambridge by the applicant. So with that, I move to the first item under the public hearings, which is item number 3 on our agenda, docket 3878 190 Mystic Valley Parkway. This was continued from a prior hearing. The applicant has requested that they be allowed to withdraw their application, and they may come back at a future date. And so they have requested that we be okay with withdrawing without prejudice. So with that, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington accept the requested withdrawal of the special permit and variance applications for docket 3878 190 Mystic Valley Parkway.
Mr. Chairman, this is without prejudice, correct?
This is without prejudice. Yes, thank you.
Second.
So with that, Mr. Dupont was not present for the initial hearing. Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So the requested withdrawal without prejudice for 190 Mystic Street has been accepted. Brings us to item 4 on our agenda, which is docket 3880 307 Washington Street. The applicant has requested a further continuance, which would be until February 24th. But because this is extended out a little bit, the board has requested the applicant that we extend the allowed public hearing period by a period of 45 days, which I believe brings us to Saturday, April 18th. So we'll do 2 votes. The first will be to extend the public hearing period, and then the second will be to continue. So with that, move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington extend the public hearing review period for docket 3880 307 Washington Street by 45 days to Saturday, April 18th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. So then vote of the board. I will note that Mr. Hanlon and Mr. Hawley are both recused on this matter. So roll call vote. Mr. Dupont,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So we have extended, and then I move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington continue the public hearing for docket 3880-307 Washington Street to Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. So roll call vote of members. Mr. Dupont,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So we are continued on 307 Washington Street to our next hearing, which is Tuesday, February 24th. That brings us to item 5 on our agenda this evening, docket 3886 53 Hodge Road. This is a new application before the board, so I would ask the applicant to go ahead and unmute themselves, introduce themselves to the board, and tell us what they are proposing to do.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dan Cameron, and I'm with DNA Survey Associates, with offices in Reading, Massachusetts. And 53 Hodge Road is an existing single-family dwelling where we propose to construct an addition, and the addition will exceed the maximum zoning under a by right permit, which is either 750 square feet or 50% of the existing square footage. So the existing structure has 944 square feet. And so we certainly propose to exceed the zoning requirements of prompting a special permit under the zoning. So we do have documents that were submitted, which is a set of architectural plans showing the layout of the addition, including some elevations and also some floor plans. And then our firm prepared a certified plot plan showing the existing house and its location, along with the proposed addition. Mr. Chairman, can I call that up, or do you?
Sure. Either yourself you can or I can. Ms. Ralston, can you go ahead and give Mr. Cameron the ability to share? You should be all set.
Okay. Can you see that, or is I?
Nope, it has not come up.
Okay. Let's see here. How about that? Does that come up?
No, let me go
No.
ahead and.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, we're looking to
Green two.
show the the proposed plot plan.
Yeah, so this is the existing
That's the
plot
existing.
plan. And that's the proposed.
Okay. So on this proposed plot plan, we have the existing structure that is shown. And then in red is the layout of the addition. And then we're also planning to construct a porch in the front left area. And then we also propose to, right now there's a one-car garage that's in the existing structure. We're looking to widen that to about a 16 foot opening, and the entire driveway will widen as well, but it'll max out at 20 feet. So in order to do that, the left side of the driveway will be widened and the right side of the driveway will be reduced. So in the end, we'll have a 20-foot wide driveway. And right now there is a retaining wall that's on the left side of the existing driveway. That retaining wall will remain, the same height, and will move to the left to line up with the jog in the house right now. If you can see, the existing house jogs a couple of feet there in the front, right by the front entrance. So consistent with the zoning requirements of the town, all of the dimensional requirements we have met, and they include the front setback, the rear setback, side setbacks on each side, minimum open space that's required, and also the height that is required. So all of the zoning requirements are met. And in particular, the lot coverage calculation, which is now estimated to be, not estimated, but it is 21.7% of the lot to be covered by the existing structure plus the new structure, will be well below the 35% that is allowed under the zoning law. So that's kind of summary of all of the zoning requirements. And then in looking at the sort of the criteria for when the town looks at a special permit petition. So there's a couple of things I want to add here, and that is that the use of this property will remain the same. It's an existing single-family dwelling, and with this proposed construction, it will remain a single-family dwelling. Regarding any impact, so there's really no impact on traffic or pedestrian, walking, etc. All of that remain the same. Regarding utilities, we do not plan on taking this structure down, although, with the dimensional requirements that, that could be done, but we don't want to do that. And the existing water service and sewer service are adequate to serve both the existing house and the proposed house, so that we do not plan on any utility work. As far as any stormwater management, there will be a minor stormwater management permit that will be required. And of course, on approval of this petition, we would apply for that permit and conform with all requirements of the minor stormwater permit regulations. And as far as the consistency with the neighborhood and surrounding area, there are a number of homes directly abutting this property that are already 2.5 story structures. So this proposed use increasing from a from a 1 story to a 2.5 story would be consistent with properties in the surrounding area. So that is a summary of what we would like to do under the special permit requirement for an addition that would exceed, in this case, 50% of the existing square footage. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we'll entertain any questions or comments.
Great, thank you very much. The only question I had on the site plan was you're showing a retaining wall here. I'm kind of just curious what the height above grade this retaining wall is.
That retaining wall would be between 2 and 3 feet, between 2 and 3.5 feet. And in terms of the purpose of that, right down the backyard does slope away from the structure. And right now, the existing structure has no frost protection at all in the back. And so with this wall would provide a couple of things. It would, level out the landing area there when you come off the deck, but it also would provide the adequate frost protection we're going to need for the addition.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then I did also, come on. I want to share the one thing that's hiding behind the share panel. Make that go away. Switch this, and then let me go back and share this again. So this is just the drawings that were provided along with the application. So it's a little tricky to sort of find what is existing and new in the drawings, but from the front, so this is that new retaining wall that Mr. Cameron spoke about, the larger garage door, the open porch here at the front, the added 1.5 stories and on the right-hand side, and then here on the left-hand side, this is the new 2.5-story structure that wraps around. And this is the rear of the property with the deck. And then we just have sections, structural. That's it. So I'll go ahead and stop the share on that. Are there other questions or comments from the board, members of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Dupont.
So I just wanted for clarification, I couldn't pull up the elevations or the plans on the new formatted site, so maybe I was missing something. But I just wanted to make sure I understood. So the GFA is going to go from 944 to 3376. So that's an increase of 2432. That does not include the basement. I just wanted to make sure that that increase of 2,400 and change is all above ground. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, and my only comment is I've driven down the street and it's clearly the smallest property for a ways, and there are consistently larger properties in keeping with the proposed scale. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Other questions from the or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. LeBlanc.
Just had one question. I was looking through all of the items in the application, and in the existing and proposed landscape open space, the existing is listed at 666. The proposed is listed at 157, and then the required by zoning is 337.6. I'm just wondering if it seems like there's a issue there or some miscalculations maybe, or just wanted to review that.
Sure. So, so I believe this is using the older version of the table. So Mr. Cameron, just to make sure, so where
That's
it's
the land.
so item 18, like usable open space, where it says the present condition is 381, and the proposed condition is 49.7. Those are both percentages, correct?
That is correct. You're looking, yeah, yes, those are percentages.
Okay, so items 17 and 18 on the dimensional parking information, those are percentages. And then on the reverse, on the open space gross floor area, those are the square footages.
Was that a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, the required open space, usable open space, as we know, is 30% of the gross floor area.
Yeah.
Right. So, with the gross floor area being so small to begin with, and the existing open space being even larger than what's obviously what we're proposing, it does prompt over 100%.
Yeah.
So that's why those are, I guess you could say, misleading, but they are percent, which is what is required in that spot. So the usable open space where we have 30% is required, 49% is what we're proposing. And then the actual open space, usable open space, is 1,678 square feet. That answers your question.
And that was the area that's identified at the rear of the property.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, Blank, did you have anything further?
The only other thing that I had that was sort of addressed was I was just curious about the plan for drainage on the site, was seeing the retaining wall coming in where that's changing how the site will be draining. Obviously the stormwater management plan was brought up, but I don't know if there was any initial plans on what the stormwater management is going to be?
Well, the increased impervious area based on what was there and what will be there, what is existing and what will be there when we're done, will be under 1,000 square feet. So it falls under the small, what they call, excuse me, it's called minor stormwater permit. So we will be engaging a civil engineer to design an appropriate system to handle that stormwater as far as the stormwater minor permit is required to engineering department.
Okay. I didn't have anything else.
Thank you. Anything further from the board? Seeing none. I'll now be opening the meeting for public comment. Public questions and comments will be taken as they relate to the matter at hand and should be directed to the board for the purpose of informing its decision. Members of the public will be granted time to ask questions and make comments. Those who would wish to address the board should digitally raise their hand using the button on the React tab in the Zoom application. Those calling in by phone, please dial *9 to indicate you would like to speak. You'll be called upon by the chair, asked to give your full name and address for the record, and be given time for your questions and comments. All questions are to be addressed through the chair. Please remember to speak clearly, and once all public questions and comments have been addressed, or a period of a half an hour has elapsed, the public comment period will be closed. So with that, are there any members of the public who wish to address this application? Again, this is number 3886 53 Hodge Road. So with that, we have a raised hand. Marina Popova.
Hello, hi. I actually have a question. So I hear that the proposed basically it is above 50% of the redevelopment of the site, and I wonder if that means that this redevelopment meets the threshold for the tree bylaws that we have, which would require planting of street trees every 25 feet.
It would, I believe it falls under the tree bylaw. I'm not exactly sure about what the requirements of that are. But the board can certainly, I would ask, Mr. Cameron, have you done a tree plan or spoken with a tree warden?
No, we haven't. I can tell you that there are the existing trees are plotted on the plan.
Yep.
There are actually 4 of them that fall under the requirements of the tree bylaw, and none of them will be impacted. And as far as the street trees to be planted, yes, we fully plan to conform to the Arlington tree bylaw.
I'm just going to bring up the plan once again, just so we can review where those trees are.
Mr. Chair,
yes, Mr. Baranowski.
should we get the member of the public's address for the record?
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Marina Popova. I'm a resident at 255 Ridge Street, just 2 blocks away from this property.
Great. Thank you for that. So the trees that were identified, there's this 10-inch tree that's on the boundary plan east here, and then there's the 3 2/8 and a 10 on this side. Do you know how close the proposed addition is to this tree, Mr. Cameron? Oh, sorry, you're muted, sir. Sorry.
No, I said if I could get into my CAD file, I could tell you exactly.
Mhm.
I don't know if that'll. I'm gonna say it's probably about 6 feet or
Okay.
so. Yep.
Okay.
Great. I just wanted to thank you very much for preserving those trees. It's really, I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Was there anything further, Ms. Popova? Oh, nope, she's off. Okay. Next up is Mr. Steve Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I'd like to thank Ms. Popova for her comments. And it is appreciated that the applicant is conforming agreeably to the bylaw. I have just a few questions. If that is as close to the new building structure that's going to be there, there are going to be some critical root zone protections that are going to have to be made. So if you talk to the tree warden, he'll be able to help you with how to conform to that. So that would be good. I'm wondering, did the applicant, Mr. Chair, use the construction guidelines to design the current pictures and the elevations and such?
Mr. Cameron, did you reference the residential design guidelines in your?
Yes, I mean, you're speaking of the architectural drawings?
So yeah, so the
Yeah.
the town
Yeah.
has the residential design guidelines. I think the question is,
Yes.
were they okay?
Taken into account, yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to compliment the applicant on doing that. That's something that definitely is encouraged and appreciated. And lastly, a question about the alignment of the driveway. I understand the moving of the driveway over so that it'll line up with what will be, I guess, a increased garage space under the house. And I wanted to be sure that the opening of the garage will be equivalent to the width of the driveway.
Yes, but you always have a return, when you say the width, like for instance, if there's a 24-inch garage, usually it's, somewhere around a 20-foot opening. Is that what, what I mean? Because you have a couple of returns on either side with the concrete coming, it's well, like there is now, right? There already is a return on the right side. So when we open this up a little bit, there's going to be another return on the left side. Is that it's
But
here?
it does, yeah. But the plan notes that the total new driveway will be 20 feet wide. And this width of this section of the building is 15.43. So there will be about a 4.5-foot section of driveway that is past the edge of the house. If I'm reading this properly.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, is that what you? In other words, the width of the width of the garage won't be as wide as the width of the driveway. All right, just because we're limited.
Right, but the width of the driveway is 20 feet according to the site plan, and the width of the garage appears to be 15.43 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore?
All right, Mr. Chair, I understand. That is unfortunate. I think, driveways need to always lead to garages or parking spaces either beside or inside the garage or the house. And this looks to me that, unless I'm misunderstanding it, and I may be, that we're creating a parking pad next to the driveway that goes into the garage, or am I misreading the plan, Mr. Chair?
So I think what's proposed is that the new driveway would sort of have would be this footprint as a single driveway.
Correct.
And this will be removed. So Mr. Cameron, when this comes out, what will this become? Will this be incorporated into the lawn?
Yes, it's everything to the right of it and behind it is all landscaped with grass. So we'll be replacing that with lumen seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Mr. Chair. I just want to ensure that we're not creating a parking space there or a pad there that's basically in the front yard of the house. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Are there any other members of the public who wish to address this application? Again, this is docket 388653 Hodge Road. So seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment period for this hearing. So the matter that's before us is a request for a special permit under section 542B6, which is the large additions. And large addition has some additional requirements that the board is, some additional findings that the board needs to make in its review. So in addition to the standard conditions under findings under 333, the board needs to find that the alteration or addition is in harmony with other structures and uses in the vicinity. It needs to consider the dimensions and setbacks in relation to abutting structures and uses, and it needs to consider conformity with the purposes of the bylaw. So I'm going to go ahead one more time here and share the proposed plan. Because the applicant has included on the plan the location of, oops, the wrong tool. Has included the proximity to other structures around it. So that on Bradley Road, the road behind, 26.3 from the lot line to this house, an additional 30, almost 30, 36 feet. Again, this is over 50 feet. The two houses on either side are about 10 or 11 feet away from the property line, and the house itself is approximately 10 to 14, 15 feet from the property line. And as had been noted by Mr. DuPont, that the houses in the vicinity all seem to be, that this is the small house and that the other houses seem to be of a comparable scale to what is being proposed. So so then reviewing the findings that the board would need to make, the overall finding is the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts. The adverse effects of the use would be I think the imposition of the construction and the reduction of the number of small properties in town, but the beneficial impacts of having a larger home that meets the needs of the residents of the town, of having improved wastewater management, and so hopefully some improvement to some of the drainage on site. Those will be helpful and beneficial, and I think the retaining of the trees will be beneficial to the neighborhood as well. The first finding under 333, the requested use is allowed or allowed by special permit in the district. This is a single family house. It's being enlarged within the setbacks, but it does require a special permit for a large addition under section 542B6 because of the scale of the proposed addition. The requested use is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. Improving the quality and the safety of housing stock in town is a good thing for the town. The addition of a new entry porch on the street is a nice feature. It presents a very welcoming front to the neighbors and the neighborhood. The addition is fairly compact on the site and does there's still a good amount of usable open space left at the rear of the property and overall landscaped area. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. Mr. Cameron, is there a sidewalk on this side of the road?
No, there is not. There's no sidewalk on either side.
Okay. So the pedestrian safety is will not be impacted, will not be impaired, and certainly the retaining of the house as a single family house will not alter the traffic. And the only thing would be the question to the Mr. Cameron, the new retaining wall that's going down the side of the driveway. How high is that relative to the driveway when within 5 feet of the street?
Oh, it drops down. It drops down to it drops all the way down to grade. So probably within 5 feet, maybe 2 feet, 2-3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Because the bylaw does have a requirement about the height relative to the location of the street. So just want to make sure that it doesn't run afoul of that.
It follows the grade, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the next is that the requested use will not overload any public system. This will be a marginal increase in the standard utilities for a home in the neighborhood, but will not be um, certainly out of scale or cause any kind of overload. With special regulations for the requested use are fulfilled. So those are the findings under 542B6 for a large addition. Excuse me. The first is that the alteration or addition is in harmony with other structures and uses in the vicinity. We saw the proposed plans for the house, which look very good and sort of in keeping with the style of homes. The scale of the home is will be similar to other homes in the neighborhood. We're supposed to consider the dimensions and setbacks in relation to abutting structures and uses. As we had seen before, there's at least 20 feet between the enlarged home and the homes on the adjacent property, which, while not excessive, is certainly consistent with Arlington. And this should not create too much of a crowding in the area. And the last is to consider the conformity with the purposes of the bylaw. The bylaw has many purposes, but a lot of it is to regulate the orderly expansion of property in town, to preserve open space, landscaping, provide a welcoming community. And I think that this application, I think the board can find that would be the case. The next is the requested use will not impair the character or integrity of the district. As we noted just previously, the designs for the home appear to be well considered and in keeping with the scale of other properties in the neighborhood. Requested use will not be detrimental to public health or welfare. The expansion of a home would not do that. And the last is the requested use will not cause an excess of use detrimental to the neighborhood. And this is a single family house in a single family district, which is what is intended by the bylaw. So those are the findings that the board needs to make. Are there any questions from the board in regards to those proposed findings? Seeing none, should the board be inclined to vote in favor of the application, there are three standard conditions that the board would include. The first is that the plans and specifications approved by the board for the special permit shall be the final plans and specifications submitted to the building inspector of the town of Arlington in connection with this application for zoning relief. There should be no deviation during construction from approved plans and specifications without the express written approval of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. The second is the building inspector is hereby notified they are to monitor the site and should proceed with appropriate enforcement procedures at any time they determine that violations are present. Building inspector shall proceed under section 3.1 of the zoning bylaw and under the provisions of chapter 40, section 21D of the Massachusetts general laws and institute non-criminal complaints. If necessary, the building inspector may also approve and institute appropriate criminal action, also in accordance with section 3.1. And the third is that the board shall maintain continuing jurisdiction with respect to this special permit grant. Based on our conversation, there are two additional that I would like to add. The first is the board requests the applicant work with the town engineer to address compliance with the town's stormwater management bylaw. The applicant has already said that's their intention to do so, but I just proposed to add it as a condition. And the other is that the board requests the applicant work with the tree warden to address compliance with the town's tree protection and preservation bylaw. So just to make sure that gets covered, that is a part of the standard approval process for building permits anyways, but I think it's good to mention that here as well. Are there any other conditions that members of the board feel would be appropriate should the board approve this application? Seeing none, I would ask Mr. Hanlon if he could direct the production of a decision in favor of approval of the application. Or if Mr. Hanlon has stepped away. He may have stepped away. If he won't, I will. So, So then with that, is there any additional information members of the board feel they need before they could render a decision on this application, which is 53 Hodge Road? Hearing none, I will go ahead and move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington close the public hearing for docket 3886 53 Hodge Road.
Second,
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. So roll call vote of the board to close. Mr. Dupont?
yes.
Mr. Hanlon, are you here? Nope. Mr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. We are closed on 53 Hodge Road. So at our next hearing, which is February 24th, we will vote on the final decision.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So with that, we'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is number 6, which is docket 388771 Mystic Street. So if I could go ahead and ask the applicant to introduce himself and tell us what they're proposing to do.
My name is William Mahoney. I'm at 12 Dixon Ave in Arlington. The property address is 71 Mystic Street here in Arlington. I just want to put a fence up that's above the 6-foot bylaw, so to about 10 feet across the back of the back of the property. I think I submitted some pictures. I don't have access to those now, but there's a landscape industrial place back there, and right in the backyard there's those concrete barriers abut my property. So just trying to mitigate that as much as possible. And I'm also going to put some trees in there, but I know you guys we're not here to talk about that.
Let me see here. I have a few things. Plot plan. Okay. So this is the, let's go ahead and rotate that. So this is the proposed, this is the plot plan for, 71 Mystic. So the Mystic Street down here at the bottom. At the top, this is the, I believe it's either the R6 or the R7 district.
It's R6.
R6, thank you. Here with the two-family house, or so it's the duplex house, and then at this line it becomes industrial, and so there is an industrial use here behind. And so this is the photo that the applicant has provided. So there's the block wall from the industrial use. It looks like there's some organizational corrals here for storage of materials, and some inadvertent mulching of your backyard, it appears.
Yeah.
Over the top of the wall.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm trying to put a fence up there too. So yeah, there's a.
Okay, so that's, and then you had provided a diagram here. So this is the fence that you're proposing. So it would be 10 feet in height. And then so it starts at grade. So this is the grade in your yard. So already the wall behind you is already like 5 or 6 feet high. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little raised anyway. You know what I mean? The grade up there is a little higher than what mine is. And I'm married to mine. I'm not moving. I can't move that at all with respect to conservation. And we've discussed that with those guys. And yeah.
Okay. And so it would be steel posts that are clad in wood, and then a wood fence. Is that correct?
So, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, this is someone gave me this, and I could very well do that if you guys required something like this. I would hoping to, maybe make it even a vinyl fence possibly, but I haven't decided yet. But if you guys want me to do this, what's proposed that right here, then I have no problem doing a wood fence.
Okay.
I was wondering if you guys have, have no opinion. And again, nothing's been finalized. I just got this from someone that could,
Okay.
provide it to me, and that's where that came from.
Okay. And the idea is the fence would just be along the back side. It would not continue here down the property.
Right. I may return, obviously, if that was the case. Yeah, certainly the 10-foot fence is just for the rear. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Um, so this is very similar to a case that we had last year on Foster Street, where there was a resident who was looking to construct a 7-foot high fence on their property line. And at the time, that applicant had also been referred to the Zoning Board of Appeals because it was the determination of the building inspector that any fence that is taller than 6 feet, that is within 6 feet of the property line, is not allowed by right and requires a special permit from the board. At that time, the board, after doing a lot of research with the zoning bylaw and internal discussion, determined that there really was nothing in the zoning bylaw that addressed the height of fences or that limited the height of fences that were close to the property line. The only relevant regulation is under state law. There's a nuisance fence statute, which is intended that if you have a fence that's taller than 6 feet along a property line that is erected to spite your neighbor, there is remedy under state law to address that. That certainly does not appear to be the case here, but that has nothing to do with this board's jurisdiction. So I would just ask the board, do any members of the board feel that there is anything different about this case than the case that was heard previously on Foster Street?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. LeBlanc.
To me, the biggest difference I think is obviously the height of the fence.
Mhm.
It's looking to go much higher than what the building inspector usually allows. But I think in this case, with the use that is directly behind the property, that seems reasonable to me. And I don't take issue with that.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Baranowski.
Well, I do agree with Mr. Blank that the height is a difference. I'm not sure that it's a difference that makes a difference for us in terms of the reasoning in the Foster case, because in that case, we just found that there was just nothing in the bylaw that governed the height of fences in this type of situation, and that basically the only remedy was state law, and other than amending the bylaw, which I think we referenced as something for town meeting. So I just think I don't see a difference that makes a difference here for our purposes. Although I do think that given the difference in height, it's an indication that this is something that town meeting really should take up and consider as something that needs to be incorporated into the bylaws. Because I respect what Mr. LeBlanc saying, there's a slippery slope possibility here, not with this applicant, but just moving forward.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. DuPont?
So I just had a question for the applicant, which is, if you are standing at the back of the house, what is the slope of the land down to the back where the fence would be? Because I agree with both Mr. Baranowski and Mr. LeBlanc, but I'm just curious as to the height that's being suggested at 10 feet. Is that something that if you're at the back of the house, you won't be able to see over it yourself into the property behind, or would you be standing on a deck where you could still see over? I'm just trying to get a sense of what the scale is in terms of the perspective from where you would be looking from the rear.
Certainly, I believe the picture that you guys have is from the first floor, so I can't put up a 20, if it wouldn't make any sense for a million reasons, to put a higher, anything higher than that. But my real goal here is to kind of mitigate the concrete, wall that's existing. At least and from the backyard, if you're walking out, it's a walkout basement, so the yard does slope down back there. And then gets pretty consistent, for about 60 or 70 feet, for the whole rear. 40 feet. I'm just looking at, as I speak here, I'm looking at the plot plan. So yeah, that drops down, and from the first floor, you're still going to be able to see some stuff. And as I had said, I already bought the trees, but the weather's preventing me from. I'm going to be planting several trees in the rear in front of the fence once I put the fence in. And really, that's just the fence is going to help you don't have to see. I'd have to put something up there anyhow. You know what I mean? And I was just figuring 10 was kind of the minimum, and that's where I'm at with my request.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one thing I just want to make clear, I want to make, this is not really relevant for this case because we're just thinking about the rear property line, but just want to reiterate that there is one relevant height requirement in the bylaws, which you already referenced in the previous case, which is the height of the fence vis-a-vis the front of the property line for the driveway. So not relevant here, but just in case someone's listening and thinking about the next project, didn't want to just didn't want to borrow trouble.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you. So with nothing further from the board, this is a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open this hearing for public comment. Again, public comment is taken as it relates to the matter at hand, should be directed to the board for the purpose of informing its decision. You can use the raise hand button and the react tab at the bottom of the screen in Zoom, or you dial *9 if you're on the phone. You'll be recognized by the chair. Ask for your name and address for the record. Given time for your questions and comments. Are there any members of the public who wish to address this application? Again, this is number 3887, 71 Mystic Street. So we have a raised hand, Mr. Steve Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I wanted to ask if, based on what the discussion I just heard, which I certainly appreciate, I think town meeting does need to deal with this because this is going to come up increasingly as the houses go up taller and as the development along Mass Broadway goes up, people are going to be thinking about fence height. But I'm wondering if, based on the current requirements of the setbacks and stuff, did I just hear one of the members say something to the effect of, you can't build a fence higher than 6 feet at the property line, but if you were to come 6 feet inside the property line, you could build something taller. Is that correct?
So it is the interpretation of the building inspector that you can build a fence up to 6 feet tall, up to your property line, but if it is taller than 6 feet, it needs to be at least 6 feet back from the property line. But there is nothing in the zoning bylaw that directly states that. A fence is technically a structure, but there's not a particular requirement that would directly address fences as structures in proximity to the lot line.
So, Mr. Chair, that in following that discussion with the building inspector's determination, if Mr. Mahoney was to desire to build a fence 7 feet inside the property line, he could build it as high as he wants?
There's nothing in the zoning bylaw that I'm aware of that would preclude it. Obviously, there are structural considerations and the same. But I do not know if the state's spite fence law applies if it's within a lot rather than at the edge of a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just something to think about. In this case, where the lot is pretty lengthy behind the house, that sort of approach would be possible. I'm not sure Mr. Mahoney would desire to give up 6 feet times 50 or 100 square feet of his land behind the fence. But that is something that is doable in this sort of situation, isn't it? Okay, that's just one point of interest. The second one was, I see there's a number of trees along the edge of the lot line within the setback. They look a little like they're volunteer trees, it's hard to tell. But in as much as they may be protected trees that would have to be considered when building the fence, how does the applicant plan to deal with that?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand the question. There's not going to be any detriment to any of the existing trees, and I'm not planning on taking any down, and nor can I'm planting. I'm going to add to that area in front of the fence. So yeah, okay, yep, I'm glad you brought that up. So the fence is, this isn't those big trees against the wall there aren't mine, to be honest with you. The property line's a little further in, and the fence is going to be in front of those, and there's going to be absolutely no contact with those trees.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I get it now. Okay, and that makes sense. And the case that I mentioned about possibility of building a fence inside isn't appropriate either, because your property line is actually quite a ways in from what I'm looking at.
It's about, excuse me for interrupting. It's about 5 feet off that wall. I initially thought it was right up against the wall, and then after we had a survey, you might even, I'm not sure, you probably can see a couple
flag
of those
right there.
Yeah, see that flag? That's kind of it. And I don't want to bet my life without going down there, but I don't think the fence is going to come near any of those trees. And there's a bunch of, and you don't even can see them all, but there's some smaller ones. This is also, I've been through conservation on this and spoken with those guys at length about the fence, and they have no issue with it. It's not going to affect that. But yeah, I can't raise the grade. There's a bunch of, you can't even see them in this picture. They're so small, but they go down to 1 inch as far as saving all the trees. And so, yeah, there's a lot of trees that you can't see in this picture that are not a lot, but a half dozen little ones, like 1, 2 inch in diameter. And I'm going to be, like I said, I have a bunch of trees already sitting up in Lexington at the Site 1 location to bring in here once the weather breaks. They're going to be planted as well.
Okay, Mr. Chair, that's good here. And just so the applicant's aware, if they're that small, if they're down to 1 inch, they're not really covered by the bylaw anyway. It's 6 inches and above. So,
no,
but I think what he was saying is that it matters to the Conservation Commission.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Other members of the public who wish to address this application? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment period for this application. So what the board has before us, this is an appeal of the decision of the building inspector. As we noted, the decision of the building inspector was that this fence could not be constructed by right, because it's taller than 6 feet and within 6 feet of the property line, as had been noted by the board in its prior decision on Foster Street. The board does not find within the zoning bylaw anything that allows the board or the town to regulate the height of fences that would preclude the issuance of a building permit. And so the board, not having identified anything that's clearly different in this application apart from the height, that I think the board would render the similar decision. Mr. Hanlon, are you with us again? Sure, what happened to Pat? I'm just trying to recall from last time if we did. I'm assuming that we voted to close and then issued our determination at the follow-up hearing. Mr. Brownowski, is that correct? I believe you wrote the decision.
Yeah, and just in particular, the decision was, I actually have the decision right up now. We just reversed the decision of the building inspector and held that the applicant there could build the proposed fence.
Okay.
That was the specific rendering of the opinion.
Okay. So This would not have any conditions affiliated with it. So are there any members of the board who feel they need additional information before we can render a decision? Seeing none. In the absence of Mr. Hanlon and given his prior writing experience on this application, I'd ask Mr. Bernowski if he would be willing to draft a decision in favor of overturning the decision of the building inspector.
I would, but query whether I'm going to get a reputation of overturning. So let me be the fence guy. May I ask one question about just to the applicant? So when you applied and you reversed, did the building inspector say to file an appeal? I'm just kind of curious about given
What led me to you guys?
So I was just kind of curious how you came to file this appeal in the sense that this is so similar to the last case. I just want to know kind of what the mechanism was in terms of.
I was instructed down there he can't approve it, so they instructed me to appeal it to you guys. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll write the opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington close the public hearing for docket 3887 71 Mystic Street.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. So roll call vote of the board. Mr. Dupont?
Yes.
Mr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Bernowski?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so we are closed on 71 Mystic Street. And again, at the board's next meeting, which will be February 24th, we will vote on the final decision that was discussed earlier.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Sure.
So with that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is item number 7, which is docket 3873 125 Broadway. This is a variance request brought on behalf of Eli Service Station. So he's represented by Mr. John Leone. So I would ask Attorney Leone to introduce himself and tell us what they are proposing to do.
Good evening, John Leone, representing Eli L. Cooley, the owner of 125 Broadway in Arlington. Eli owns and operates Eli's gas station down there. I don't know if you want a little background of how we got here, or I'll just give you the 2-minute what we're trying to do. Right, currently he has a 2-bay garage, and he wants to add a 500 square foot addition on the side of it along Everett Street, converting a existing storage area into his 3rd bay. And it would square that off, as you can see in some of the permit set that was submitted, square it off, add a roof over it. And he also wants to refresh the whole garage, the stanchion sign and the overhead thing over the pumps, the canopy. He wants to refresh all of that and just kind of bring it up into the current level. As you recall, Eli was the main driver behind the 2024 town meeting warrant article to bring self-service stations into Arlington. This is his ultimate plan, is to refresh the station, refresh the canopy and the pumps, and make them self-serve in accordance with that bylaw. We ended up in front of you on a variance. Because of the size of the addition, it looked to me like this should have been a special permit in front of the ARB. We initially submitted to them back in June of 25. It took them several months to determine that we were in the wrong spot. They found the 4 old variances granted by this board, which I have submitted into the portal, so you have them all in front of you. Each one of those variances granted a gas station, or rebuilding the station, eliminating the overnight parking ban, allowing the canopy and the signage down on that spot. It has been a gas station since approximately the 1920s. after the ARB determined we shouldn't be before them, but should be in front of the ZBA, I initially submitted a special permit application back in the fall. That got kicked around administratively for a while, and that got rejected, saying I should be in front of the ARB. I brought that up to Mike Cunningham, Town Council, and after several conversations with him, he finally determined that this should be a variance in front of you guys, which brought me to the January 9th filing. And just last week, I updated that filing with a additional filing spelling out the 4 characteristics of why this variance fits within the guidelines by state law and by your own rules. As you can see, we've submitted a lot of different plans and site plans and permit sets, et cetera, et cetera. I'll gladly go through them all if you wish, or I'll just defer to you and answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Leone. So I go ahead. I do have them up here. So this is the existing plan for the site. So the blue dash is the property line. The building is here in this corner.
Right, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that little standalone square. That's the storage area that is going to be converted into the third bay.
Mr. Leone, do you know if this is existing? Is
Yeah.
original to the building, or if it was added later?
I cannot answer that. I don't
Okay.
know when that was added.
Okay.
I couldn't find any plans that old.
Oh, okay. Obviously this is the building. It has 3 lifts currently on the inside and 2 garage doors at the front.
Correct.
And then the sales area, restrooms, etc. And then I have so this is the proposed plan. Let me go back. So this is existing conditions. The proposal here, as Mr. Maloney had said, to remove this storage here, remove this exterior wall, remove.
Yeah,
this
if you go to the
portion
next
here at
plan, you can
front,
see the,
and then
there you
you can
go.
see the revised.
So the whole front part of that is as existing. It's just the rear portion where that additional lift and garage door is that's being
Yep.
added on, and the roof will be extended out over that.
Okay. That's the
Yeah, there you go.
roof
There's the existing
plan,
roof.
existing roof to be demolished, and then the new gable to come out over that.
Yeah.
And a new gable here at the front. And then solar ready zone, and then the elevations. So existing above, proposed below.
There you go.
That's the rear, and then that is the side. And then section through. Those are the drawings. So there's a couple of questions that come up. So presently the building appears to be parallel to the left side lot line, but not parallel to the rear lot line, assuming this is has it been designated that this is the rear and this is the side, or is it the other way around?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Everett Street is the side, and the curb is facing Broadway.
Yeah. Okay, so along this side, there's no extension. On this side, it appears that an extension of the wall of the building will get closer to the lot line as it extends, so it would be a further extension into the lot line, into the side yard, and where this is not a single or 2 family, under state law, it requires a variance for that extension. It can't be it's not supposed to be done by a Section 6 determination or a special permit unless the town specifically allows it to do so in the bylaw. The other question that has come up and been discussed a few times has to do with the number of bays. And as Mr. Leone noted in his variance letter that he provided to the board, there are currently 3 lifts in the building with 2 doors, and the zoning bylaw does not. The zoning bylaw notes that a service station can have up to 3 service bays, but it does not define what a service bay is. Service bay is not defined in the state building code. And so one of the things the board is going to need to consider is whether 2 doors with 3 lifts is 3 bays or 2 bays. Is the number of bays by the number of doors, or is the number of bays by the number of lifts? So that's a determination the board will need to make, because should it becomes relevant because of the addition, if the board feels that the number of lifts should be what determines the number of bays, then this will be a 4th bay, which is not allowed under the zoning bylaw, and the board is not allowed to issue a variance for use. And so the board would not be able to approve a 4th service bay. So that's part of what the board needs to determine, is which of those is the correct consideration. And then I did just briefly want to just share briefly. So as had been noted, hopefully, are you seeing the docket 951? Is that what's up on the screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. So these are the 4 prior decisions that Mr. Leon had mentioned. The first, 951 from 1967, was a variance for a larger sign at the old gas station. The really relevant one is docket 1178, 1972, which allowed them to replace the existing service station with a new structure 3 feet from the rear and side lot lines, which is what it's constructed as. The conditions were that there was to be no heavy motor vehicle repair. There was to be no additional structures constructed or affixed to the premises used for the storage or sales, and that there be no overnight parking on the site. But it did not say anything about the number of bays that were approved as a part of the application, and we don't have the drawings. 2257 in 1979 was another change of signage. And then in docket 2903, passed in 1993, amended the variance to allow the overnight parking of vehicles. At the time, I believe it was stated that there were some cars that needed to be there for longer periods of time for repair, but also that there were U-Haul trucks that were going to be rented from the site, and those would need to be parked overnight. And so the board allowed a change of variance to allow the parking of vehicles. As Mr. Leone had noted in his statement to the board, the building was presented as having 2 bays. It appears that statement was made in the presentation to the board. It doesn't appear in the decision as a determination by the board, so I'm not.
Well, it does.
It's in the decision, yes, but
Yeah, it's in the
it's not.
finding
It doesn't
fact.
say the board found that. So,
Well, it's in the finding of fact.
and then I would also note that there is an error in the bylaw in that decision. It states that the left yard side back is 13 feet, where it's 3 feet. So, just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention as well. So I would ask Mr. Leone if you could discuss a little bit your understanding of what a service bay is and how that applies to this application.
Well, my understanding of a bay is a door. And anything behind that door is considered that bay area. Whether it has 1 lift or 2 lifts, it's still in that individual bay. In this case, that the building has 2 bays, which it is in the finding of fact of docket number 2903 on page 3. That it says the subject real estate contains 2 bays and 2 gas pumps. So I think that precedent does establish that a bay is a door, and what's behind it is the work area for that particular bay, which is what I've been proposing that this board also find and go along with that precedent, adding the 3rd bay around the side of the building. What's behind the doors is, you know, if they have 2 lifts, they have 2 lifts. It doesn't make a difference to the public facing the building. If the doors are down, you don't know what's going on behind there. If there's 1 or 2 cars being worked on, it really wouldn't matter to the public face or to the public at all. Actually, probably be more beneficial to the public in that they would have more opportunity to have their cars serviced in a timely and efficient manner, which is one of the reasons he wants to add the quote 3rd bay to serve his clients and public, because we know there's a decrease in the number of service stations in town. They're getting farther and fewer between. And as you did note, there is no definition of what a bay is in either the town bylaw, town zoning bylaw, or in any state law or case law that I could locate and find. So it is sort of determined by the precedent of the board back in, gosh, when was this? This last
93.
93, yeah, which was quite an extensive opinion, 11 pages. And if you find that that is 3 bays, then it's only a matter of approving for the 500 square foot addition.
If questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yeah, it's a question about whether 1 or more of these bays are going to be an inspection bay, and if so, whether that's anticipated to change the location or amount of cars queuing for inspection, especially along that back property line.
They currently have an inspection bay on the far left existing bay. I would imagine he is going to keep that. As you know, the inspection bays need to be a certain depth for the headlight testing, etc. So that is why that far left bay is their current inspection bay, and that wouldn't change because he's not changing any of those things in the plan, and that new bay that he's adding will be too short for an inspection bay. And as far as queuing, the worst days in a month, as we all know, are the last 2 days in a month when we all remember to get our sticker on the 28th, 29th, or 30th. So it's that far left bay is the current inspection bay.
Over here.
Correct.
Other questions or comments from the board at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. LeBlanc.
my question focuses around accessibility to the new store. Because knowing this place a little bit, living down the street, I don't believe there's any sort of accessible way into the store, as well as doesn't appear to be an accessible bathroom. Part of that is going to be on the building inspector to make determinations about what's required for accessibility. But if you could at least say what the plans are to maybe at least make the store accessible.
Yeah, well, the store is going to be more just for convenience to the customers, but there is currently, if you go through the current existing right bay, there is a door in, but you're correct. If those front doors change and the bathroom, they all have to be ADA compliant. Because of the scale of the change, you'll have to be made ADA compliant, obviously.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening in these, so that's the reason for my question.
Yeah. I don't have the construction drawings. I don't think we have them at
Site
all.
plan doesn't provide any additional information.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
but it would
existing
be
site
where
plan.
those new insulated tempered glass doors are going to be installed. That would have to be, I imagine the building inspector is going to mandate that they're ADA compliant. Whether they have to cut the curb and make a ramp there. Because right now, I believe you're correct. It's like a 3-4 inch step up.
Yeah, it's a
to
little
get in.
curve, like a
Yeah, little
sidewalk.
curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll have to make that compliant, however they do that.
Yeah. My other question is, I believe we might have reviewed this, but in the 1971 findings, it was noted that the minimum rear yard is 3 feet. And I'm just now, as the chair was saying earlier, that what we're saying is the rear property line is angled. And I'd be curious as to what that dimension is between the new addition and the property line. We don't have that. I don't believe we have had a drawing of that.
No, I just have the current site plan. Where is that plan?
So this is the existing site plan, but I don't have
Yeah.
it proposed.
I thought I had a proposed site plan. I thought there was one.
Go ahead, stop in case you can.
Yeah, I don't see it on the things we've submitted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably on my computer at work.
Yeah, because I think we need to know what that is, because we need to either see that it's in compliance with that finding, or I believe we would have to make a finding ourselves to change that. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. My other thing relates to signage. I was just curious if what the height is of the gas price sign that's being proposed. There's no height listed on the signage drawings. So I'd just be curious as to what the comparison height is of the current sign to the new one.
Oh, you mean the stanchion?
Yeah, the one that displays the gas prices. It's at the end of the page 6 of the signage package that was submitted. Yes.
Yeah,
one.
the stanchion to the left. Again, I'll find that out. Stanchion sign height.
And I guess just also specifically what its height comparison is to the existing one.
Okay.
So I'm fairly certain that in our bylaws, signs are all approved by the redevelopment board and not by
I
the
think you're
zoning
correct.
board.
Okay.
So this would need to, at least this portion, well, that's actually a good question because this board has ruled twice now on signage.
And I guess they already kicked them over to us.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's actually a good point because I'm thinking back now. So there was a
Well, they
case.
allowed the sign change from Jenny to Sitco.
Yeah.
And when they put the canopy up, I think they allowed the signage on the canopy.
Right, yeah. So the decisions in 67 and 79 both dealt with signage. So I believe actually Mr. LeBlanc may be correct that in this instance, because there is a prior variance issued by the Board of Appeals, it does we retain unless we specifically waive it, which we have done that in the past on certain items that really belong with the redevelopment board that fell to this board that we have relinquished um, uh, our continuing jurisdiction on certain things. But
Well, the 67 appeal 95 951 says the proposed sign will measure 19 feet overall, 12 feet represented by the pole, and the sign would be approximately 7 feet.
yeah, I think it was 49 square feet was the sign area on that prior. But then in 1979, when it changed ownership to Sitco, I think they changed, what's that, 2257? To go to Sitco. Vision. Standing sign may be changed, probably stays the size it is at present and is illuminated only during business hours. Under back detailed record of its proceedings. Mr. Luna, do you remember when the canopy was added?
I don't know if it was in the 71. I'm looking at the 71. I don't think it was the 71. I want to confirm that. Overnight parking.
So the decision from 1993, docket 2903, notes that a special permit request is currently pending before the Arlington Redevelopment Board in accordance with section 1106, 504, and 605 of the zoning bylaw for the purpose of constructing a canopy at the site and for the purpose of requesting modified signage at the site.
Okay, so that was 79.
So that's 79. So I think the ARB, I think it would make sense for the ARB to have jurisdiction over the signage at this point because it's much more something. It's something that they deal with much more often.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall at town meeting when the new sign bylaw was passed, the zoning board of appeals had requested that all the sign permits be handled by just one board rather than some by one and some of the other.
Right. I have no problem bringing the signage portion into it once, if this board votes in favor of the rest of the package.
Okay.
Because we will have to get the more specifics.
Yeah.
About exact locations, exact final dimensions, etc.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board before we go for a public comment?
So, Mr. Chair, might I just ask one quick clarifying question?
Of course.
So just to be clear, to go forward as proposed, we would just be saying that service bay means the equivalent of garage door.
The board needs to determine what is meant by a service bay.
No, I know, but for this, I mean, in terms of it sounds like that's functionally the definition that the applicant is providing us.
That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to have that before the board's discussion later to be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'll go ahead and open this meeting for public comment. We'll note public comment is taken as it relates to the matter at hand and should be directed to the board for the purpose of helping to inform its decision. Those members of the public who wish to speak can raise their hand by using the raise hand button in the React tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen. If you're calling in by phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. You'll be identified by the chair, asked for your name and address for the record, and given time for your questions and comments. All questions that should be addressed through the chair. So with that, are there any members of the public who wish to address this application? Again, this is docket number 3873, 125 Broadway. Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I was looking on Google Maps and Street View and going up and down Broadway and around Everett, looking at the current building and current structures to try and get a feel for where the property lines are. And it was a pretty interesting trip in a time machine, because as you go up and down the street, the station changes gases, it changes ownership, I suppose. It varies quite a bit, and including the building, which is right across Everett Street now at the corner, which isn't there, and then is there. And all of the reason I was doing all that was to see how the current site compares to what it looked like in the schematic attachment to the application, where everything looks clean and spiffy and perfect and not dented and such. The current site, of course, does not look that way. There's lots of work that goes on in cars that are currently out in the yard that will now be, I guess, replaced by this bay. And the storage area that was there, a roofed area, it's hard to know what's in there. There's also a dumpster sitting right up against the property line. And what I'm wondering is, if this bay is going to remove that storage area, what is happening to all the materials that are being stored there, and where are they going to go now, or will they not exist anymore magically somehow? I wonder if you could explore that with the applicant.
Sure. Mr. Leone, do you know what the plans are for what is currently being stored in that area?
I do not. Eli was supposed to log on tonight. I don't know what happened, but I can only
John,
speculate.
John,
Oh, he's here.
Oh,
He
he's
just said
here?
your name.
Oh, hi, Eli. Can you tell us about the storage area?
no worries. It's Eli and Richie. I'm Richie. I'm Eli's son. What's in that storage unit? It's basically just materials such as like snow blowers, like press machines that we have in the back, transmission jacks, and then engine jacks that are in there. And then there'll be enough storage space inside once we get that service bay up and ready.
Mr. Chair, my concern is that if it's now a service bay that requires significant open space to put the car in there and service it, there may or may not be sufficient room for all that heavy equipment that's now in that storage area. And I'm certainly hoping that it's not all outside or around the building or whatever, because as I said, looking at the pictures, there's a little bit of disorganization there now where this bay is going to go. Now, clearly, the building of a new bay, adding a new roof, is a good opportunity to clean up those current existing conditions. And it sounds like that's part of the plan here, which is great to hear. I'm just wondering, as this occurs, would the board consider putting some sort of conditions on the granting of this permit or variance, or what we're calling it, to make sure that the area does get cleaned up? For instance, a place to put this dumpster so it's not there in the open, which is pretty unsightly. This is right near a school. It's right next to a bunch of residential housing. And I'm thinking this opportunity needs to be taken to clean up this back of the property, so those that look at it from across the street, behind it, such, are looking at something that's more sightly than what it looks like right now. There's a broken up, looks like a chain link fence, a bunch of volunteered landscape. And I'm wondering if the board could put a condition of requirement of a landscape plan to go along with this building renovation modification. Because really, I think opportunities like this need to be taken to clean up areas that have just sort of, over the years evolved and never been thought of in kind of an integrated, consistent kind of way. And now that this is going to be changed, the board can encourage an integrated design to the whole property. I do want to make one other point, and that is that there's some significant large trees around the property that aren't part of this property, but the building modification, I believe, is going to require plantings pretty regularly on the street. And of course, it's a full open apron to access the current gas pumps. And I'm not suggesting that trees get planted where there's an open apron, but I am suggesting that a landscape plan to include trees that need to be planted along the edge of this property has to be included. So I would advise the applicant to get with the tree warden and figure out how to deal with that other bylaw that isn't part of this zoning purview. But more importantly, I think the board should try and encourage this applicant to improve the quality of the property lines that the residences abut up against. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Are there other members of the public who wish to address this application? Mr. Moore, did you have something you further wanted to add?
I did. I apologize. I sort of, through that whole diatribe I just did, I kind of made an assumption that that was not part of the plan. Could I ask if your applicant is considering what I'm suggesting? Because it may already be considered, and I should have asked that first. I apologize.
Mr. Leone, is there I know I only have an existing plot plan, so I don't have what you're proposing on the plot plan. Is there landscaping and such cleaning up of the site on that plan?
Well, we had, and I apologize, I don't have those plans with me or accessible on this computer. When we were with the ARB, we did submit exterior plans. As you know, this is a gas station. Its property is essentially hardtopped. There is some areas between the sidewalk and the street, that little curb area where trees could be planted. But that's about it. You know, we can't. The existing trees are on the neighbor's property, so those obviously will not be touched. But it's the property; it's all hardtop. They do plan to clean it up. Mr. Alcooley has another service station, I believe, over in Chelsea, Eli. That if you saw the pictures of that station, is what he's aiming for. It's clean, it's bright, it's well maintained. That's what he wants to bring to this site. Go ahead.
In Revere, sorry.
No, it's in Revere. Okay, yeah, it was close. The dumpster, if we can locate it in such a spot and get permission to build a fence around it of some sort, I'm sure they wouldn't mind doing that. But as far as the trees, those are actually on the neighbor's property. So we will not be touching those at all or impacting their root ball because the existing hardtop.
Mr. Chair, I understand that's good. They are good trees, but I'm part of the new town bylaw set is that a modification like this to a commercial property requires the planting of street trees every 25 feet. Now, this is a hardtop. I accept that. It's a gas station. It's not a convenience store or someone's house. However, there are opportunities here to do that, and I think that is a required part of the plan. And I think the board should require a landscape plan for this project to include the expected improvements along the back property lines, not just aiming to do something, but is part of the plan. That was my point, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. With that, and seeing there are no other members of the public on the call, I will go ahead and close the public comment period. So again, what the board has before us, this is a variance application. I guess one could technically say it's a application to modify an existing variance to add an additional bay onto the building, and some other ancillary some changes. As we had discussed, I think the board will refer all the signage matters back to the redevelopment board for their consideration. And I do take Mr. Moore's comments to heart. One thing I will note is that in the decision that was filed back in 1972, there is a condition of the granting of that variance that no additional structures be constructed or affixed to the premises to be used for storage or sales. And so if there was a storage problem, the applicant does not have the ability to construct a shed or some other exterior structure to deal with storage, because that 72 bylaw is still in effect. And my understanding is there has not been a request to change that condition of the opinion of the standing opinion. So I think there's a couple of issues before the board. There's a couple that are sort of site related. There's the question of what is the proposed, what is the actual setback now, and what is the proposed setback going to be going forward, so that the board can consider that. I think it would be good for the applicant to review the requirements for setbacks for adjoining abutting properties, see if there's anything in that portion of the bylaws that they're required to address. As Mr. Moore had noted, the zoning bylaw does require for projects in the commercial zone that there be the planting of street trees. I think that's something that would be coordinated through the tree warden, so it might be worth putting in a call to the tree warden just to see what their interpretation would be. I think it would be good to consider sort of where the dumpster is going to go and how the dumpster will be treated, just so it's not sort of an orphan thing that sort of moves around the site. It appears now that it's sort of within an area that has some parking, that parking is obviously going to go away for access to the bay. So if there are changes to the parking on site, it would be important to understand that as well. But the last piece, as it sort of alluded to before, is really this question as to whether exactly what the definition is of a bay, of a service bay. And I completely agree with Mr. Leone's interpretation that there is, or assertion that there's nothing in the bylaw, there's nothing in state law, there's nothing in the dictionary that addresses this term, and the decision that was put forward in 1993 in its finding of fact states that there are two bays present on the building. And I've been sort of going round and round and sort of thinking about this and doing some search. It does appear that the term service bay is a little bit of a term of art in terms of the automotive field, in terms of how they that a service bay is a space that somebody can, that a person can work and service a vehicle. I think of like Cambridge Honda has its service department has a single door, but it has space to work on 12 vehicles simultaneously. I'm not sure I would consider that as a one bay service station or garage. And so I'm a little torn as to, and I think the board needs to really consider this as to because whatever decision we make in this case will certainly, I think, become the precedent for the town as to how we count bays. And so do we consider in this case where there are two doors presently and three service areas which have a lift in them where a vehicle can be worked on independently? Is that already three bays, or is that just because there are two doors, that's just two bays? I think we can agree that the portion of the building that has that is for the inspection of vehicles, is not for the repair of vehicles, is not for the service of vehicles, and does not in any way count as a service area. But one can access a lift from that door. So 2 doors, 3 lifts, does that mean it's 2 bays as was noted in the 1993 decision, or is it really 3 bays for the servicing of vehicles? Because I wish this was honestly a much clearer and distinct point in the town bylaws. Mr. Branowski?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I opine on that point just a bit in
Sure.
terms of I've been doing a little bit of research, and there is a dictionary definition that's relevant in Webster's that reads that a bay is any of various compartments or sections used for a special purpose, as in an airplane, spacecraft, or relevant here, gas station. So taking that as kind of a backdrop, which to me indicates a space, not a door, I think that we should tether it to what is the language and purpose of this bylaw. And looking at it, one, that seems to indicate, again, we're looking at space, not doors. I think that the language indicates that the town meeting was also looking at space, not doors. So the whole definition of auto service station, a building, structure, or land use with no more than 3 service bays, primarily for the dispensing or sales of automotive fuels or oils or accessories, including lubrication of automobiles, replacement or installation of parts and accessories, and washing of automobiles. That to me indicates the space of the use that's going on in each separate kind of compartment. It would link up with that, kind of links up with the Webster definition, and it kind of makes sense that town meeting would be thinking in terms of that kind of sense of a service bay, because why have this limit? Seemingly would have the limit because of wanting to cap how much servicing can happen in any one location to accommodate other values in the surrounding area. Whereas doors, that says nothing about the extent to which the servicing that's happening inside the building. I somewhat disagree with Attorney Leon that I think the bylaw is here indicating a concern with what is happening in the building or on the land if it's open, but not just kind of the facade of the bays. And lastly, in terms of this older opinion, one, it's just in the finding of facts kind of in passing. So I'm not sure that this particular question was queued up for the board. So it's not like they exercised their judicial mind on it. And then second, was this definition even in the bylaw at the time? So even if the board could have considered it, was it? Because it seems to be at least this is the question that we have to consider. And I'm not sure kind of a passing comment and a finding of fact is going to be sufficient, because at the end of the day, town meeting gave us a term. I don't know if town meeting was thinking about that particular finding of fact when it wrote that term, and we should try and figure out what town meeting was trying to figure out, which would, to me, for all the reasons I said, suggest it was more in the Webster kind of compartment mindset, not the door definition.
Thank you, Mr. Baranowski. Mr. Rosenberg?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Baranowski, but I also note that I don't think that our zoning bylaw, and I'd have to double check, regulates the number of parking spaces with relative to the number of bays. But I do believe that there are zoning ordinances in some towns that require a certain number of parking spaces per bay. I assume the logic is that you don't want to the space, and number of vehicles being serviced concept that Mr. Baranowski raised, that you don't want cars that are being serviced coming in and out of those bays to be left without parking and sort of strewn around the lot. So I assume there's some consideration of, if you have 3 bays within a door, those cars are being moved around when the door opens and in and out. Make sure you have adequate space on the lot to accommodate those vehicles, which would suggest that the number of lifts and areas within a door that you have to service cars is important to understanding the concept of a bay.
So in the bylaw for the minimum number of parking spaces for auto sales, similar retail and service establishments with extensive display areas that are unusually extensive in relation to customer traffic, which doesn't quite sound right. I guess this would be other uses permitted by this bylaw then. Closest similar use shall be used to interpret. Okay. So, as determined by the building inspector. Okay, so the building inspector would determine what the use category then is to determine the number of parking spaces. And I think Ms. Rosenberg, what you were getting at was that should this bay be built where it's being proposed, it would eliminate the parking in that area. And we just need to make sure that the site still accommodates the required parking under the bylaw.
My point was more that I believe that some towns interpret the concept of bay to mean an area to service vehicles within a area behind a door, such that they require a certain number of spaces per bay.
Yeah. Yeah. I will note that the term bay appears in our zoning bylaw 4 times, twice in reference to a bay window and once in relation to Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. And the only other time is for service bay. So our bylaw does not provide us with a lot of guidance in this matter. But in which section? In section 2 of the zoning bylaw under definitions, terms and words not defined herein, but defined in the state building code shall have meanings given therein, unless a contrary intention clearly appears. Words not defined in either place shall have the meaning given in the most recent edition of Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, as Mr. Bernowski had pointed to. So I think the most relevant question before the board at this time is, does the board, so let me put the plan back up. So does this proposed plan with 3 doors and 4 lifts represent 3 service bays or represent 4 service bays? Then it's
speak or
no? Mr. Leone, go ahead.
Yeah, I would argue 3, obviously. Again, for the same reason that whether it's work areas, it's 3 work areas. One happens to have 2 lifts in it, but we do have the 1979 2909 decision, which more than once references the interior of 2-bay garage structure. It's not mentioned in passing, and that is precedent that the board is supposed to follow almost to this point of, dare we say, grandfathered in. And where the bylaw is silent on the issue and the hardship that would be created by not allowing it, which is why one of the reasons for variance, right? The hardship created. In order to maintain an economically viable business, he needs the additional bay and the additional work area. Gas stations are very tough and business with very low margins on the gasoline. Often it's pennies per gallon. They make their money in the work shop fixing our cars. We all know that. And he needs the additional work area, the additional bay, if I might, in order to remain economically viable. That is a valid hardship under your 4 criteria, which if you can't find that it's 3 bays now, and when you say it's 4 bays, but that would be a hardship upon which the board could grant a variance.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Rosenberg.
I would just say, I hope it's not out of place, but I think saying, without comment on whether an additional door or addition on this structure would be a hardship or not, or would be suitable or not, I just think it's in our interest, because this will be precedent going forward, to ensure we've actually taken an opportunity to give this some thought. That would be my preference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly as Mr. Leone did point out in the 93 decision, it does reference 2 bay several times. It does not seem to use the term service bay ever. It just indicates that there are 2 bays, but it does so in multiple locations.
But I don't know I don't know that the second lift was installed at that time, and I also not having a decision. I don't know that was a decision permitting 2 bays, or just as was noted in the recitation of facts, noting that it had 2 bays at the time, but that was not material to the decision or the variance that was granted at the time.
Right. But I would note too that the use category that this building falls under stipulates no more than 3 service bays. So if the board was to find that this was a request for a 4th service bay, that would be a different use. And the board is not authorized to grant a variance for use. And so if the board was to determine that it was a 4th bay, the board would not be able to grant the creation of a 4th bay because it would be a use problem and not a related to the dimensions or the density of the site.
That would put us into a different category.
Yeah, and it's a category that doesn't exist, which is the
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dupont.
So following up on both what Mr. Rosenberg and Mr. Baranowski had said, I think, we are looking at this in terms of trying to figure out what the definition is that we should use. And it seems like we've found our way to Webster's at this point. And so that's a little less clear than I would typically like. But it would be relevant for me to know, and I don't know if Mr. Leone can find out whether or not, as Mr. Rosenberg had suggested, whether we know that there was a second lift in that, what we're referring to as a second bay, or Mr. Leone is. So during the time that decision was rendered, were there actually 3 lifts there? I mean, I'm not sure that that's decisive, but it would be helpful for me to know whether that was the case.
Leone, do you know, or does your client know?
I personally don't know. In 1979, there was a Dairy Queen next door. I used to go to that, but as far as the gas station itself, I never used it. I was just 2 years out of high school then, Roger, so I don't know. Eli, do you know if what the configuration, or Richie, what the configuration was back in 79 for the interior?
93. 93? Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the 79 one. 93, I was out of college, not a law school.
And
Still didn't go to the station.
1993, I wasn't the owner back then.
Okay.
And whatever is there. And when I bought it from Mr. Porter, all we did is change the signage on it. And paint it. We cleaned up the garage. We painted. We had a couple of equipment there, heat, and that's it. That's all about it.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Holly.
Maybe it's an operational question. On the left bay, there's no lift there. So is the assumption that the lift 2 is being accessed through that door, and you need the maneuvering clearance there? What makes that space available? Is it, I don't think from an operational standpoint, a lift could be placed there in the future.
This is Richie, Eli's son. So you're seeing there on the left side so that's for the inspection bay. In order for us to put a lift there, we have to get certain credentials from the RMV, which we've tried in the past, and they did deny it. We cannot add a bay in that service bay right there. where
Okay.
but the far end, in order for us to do a state inspection, there is a light board right behind that lift. The car has to be fully lifted up in order for us to operate a state inspection in there. So to answer,
Okay.
we cannot put a lift in that state inspection bay.
Understood. So this is the maximum that the site can hold at this time, as far as number of lifts are concerned, and including the base as well, right? If we're keeping the functionality of the inspections pegged to it, it appears so.
On the existing configuration of the building, yes, that is the maximum it could have. But with the proposal being put forth, we would have the third bay, fourth lift.
Right. Thank you. I had one non-bay related, if I can divert the whole team for a quick question. Or the overframe design of the roof with the signage that was done, I assume, to enhance some aesthetics to the building. The one question I had is, now with this new roof, once approved, there's multiple roofs and clashing of the roofs are happening. So if this overframe could be aligned with the door, it seems to be a possibility there. Somehow the pilaster on either side of the brick portion of either side, I'm calling them pilasters for aesthetic reasons, but could it be aligned with the center? Do you see any harm in aligning it from an owner's
Oh, you
standpoint?
align the
gable
center of the doors
overframe,
with the peak of the roof?
or vice versa. I meant aligning the roof with the center of the doors so that it's more more aligned there. Yeah.
We could ask the architect. That doesn't seem like it, because
Yeah, I was
it's
trying
a decorative roof in the front. So
right. Could slide, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd imagine it could. We'd have to run it by our architect.
Yeah, again, the only reason, not to
aesthetics,
right, and the clash with the new roof, new portion, and the roofs all tying in. If you see a 3D view all the way to the end, the rendering there shows hodgepodge and trying to minimize the disruption there. And then third, and probably another question is the building, the addition that's coming out relative to the underground tanks. How far is it? How far is that from the face of the building right now, and how does it line up with the underground there?
Richie, you know where the tanks are located relative to the site plan, and you're not changing the tanks at all.
No, we're not changing the tanks at all. They're changing the concrete on top of it and the fuel pumps and all the equipment on the top. The tanks, they're staying. The added bay does not interfere with the tanks. Is far away from the tanks.
Are the tanks on the front or the side?
Oh, it's on the side.
Everett Street side.
Front.
So it's is it this area here? Is that likely?
That's how I understand, looking at the maps, that is the extent of the underground is that line, right? The box that's shown.
Correct.
But with the proposed, because we don't have the proposed site plan relative to that sidewalk that goes there, how far is it away from the sidewalk, or is it in line with the sidewalk? Maybe. Do you know if
the tanks themselves?
No, the building I meant, not the tanks.
Oh,
how far does the building now, the bay, the new added bay, comes outside of the previous wall? I meant.
Oh, it looks about 3 feet.
So come out 6 feet.
Well, actually 6 feet.
6 feet. Yeah. Okay.
So 1 foot past what appears to be the 5-foot sidewalk.
Got it. Okay.
As it's labeled here.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thank you. So back to the garage bay.
Okay. So, Mr. Leone, I would ask, do you concur that has the building inspector given you an opinion on what they consider to be a service bay?
They're not in writing.
Not in writing. Okay.
When I went down and met with him, he determined, he just said a bay is a work area. But he didn't have a rationale for that. He just said it's a work area.
Okay.
So there was nothing for me to appeal from.
Right.
And I think, you know, functionally, we have to look at how many auto repair facilities are left in town. The size of the lots they're on, and the service to the public that they provide, and the public good that is done by maintaining these type of businesses in town, I think outweighs any future theoretical possibility that someone else is going to come and want to put a fourth bay somewhere if you determine that a bay is a work area. No one's building gas stations nowadays. They're knocking them down, building houses. Well, something on top of them.
Right.
So I think that the public harm is greater than the public good in maintaining the building, and then granting a variance as requested, and just sticking with the precedents of the past decisions.
Yep.
Is a safe route for the board. You know, give them the variance, give them the permission to do the building, and to redo would you rule on the canopy itself, because that was something you agreed on, or would and just the signage on the canopy go to the ARB? Because they want to put a new canopy, rebuild the existing canopy. And that's something we're seeking as well.
I think I can speak for the board that I think the signage package should be reviewed by the redevelopment board.
Right.
It should not be reviewed by us, because that puts it in the proper place that should be reviewed in town, and that there's no reason for the board to have any jurisdiction over that at this time.
But except for the structure itself.
Correct, but is there a proposed change to the structure?
I think you wanted to rebuild the canopy itself.
But as far as because it's not in the documentation. I mean,
I think it was in
there's images in the sign. It's all within the sign package, I think. I don't think anything is within the construction.
I thought I had it in there that we wanted to revise the building, and I've done so many different applications, I'm confused. I've done 3 applications so far, and they're blurring, frankly.
Yeah.
I thought I had in there the reconstruction, the addition to the building, and revising the signage and the canopy. I know I mentioned canopy more than at some point in time.
But is the proposal to change the dimensions of the canopy at all?
No.
Okay. That's probably why, just because it's not.
John,
not changing.
Yeah.
I have a question about the 4 bays that's going on, and the question about it. If you were to go a block over to Arlington, where the food bank is right now at 111 Broadway, it used to be called Arlington
Transmission,
Automatic Transmission. That site right there is a 4 bay garage site.
Correct.
Yes. So,
but it doesn't. So Arlington, for whatever reason, has a different use category for an automotive repair that does not dispense fuel, and is a different category if you do dispense fuel. And for whatever reason, when it was enacted, there was a restriction put on the number of bays on a service station, but not on a general automotive repair or on auto body shops.
Yeah, because you sell gasoline, you have a different rule on the number of bays. You're limited to 3 bays.
Understood.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it may very well be that the remedy to this issue does not go through this board, but goes through town meeting. And that changing the bylaw with an eye towards, making service stations more viable by allowing them to service more vehicles, which is certainly something that may be of use. But as at present, we are limited to, if you are dispensing fuels, you're limited to only having 3 service bays.
And we have the dual purpose argument, as we've noted, precedents and 3 doors.
Right. So,
Any other questions?
Yeah. So before we ask the applicant to, revise site plans and other such plans, I think the really relevant question for the board is, what are we going to consider a service bay for the purposes of interpreting our bylaw? And with that in mind, is the existing structure a 2 garage door bay building with 3 service bays, or does it have 2 service bays presently, and the addition of a 3rd door with an additional bay will only bring the number up to 3? I think that's the relevant question to the board, because if the board finds that there are currently 3 service bays, then the board is not able to grant permission to construct a 4th.
You can't authorize a variance for that, to the vary a variance of the bylaw to add a 4th.
I mean, I could have that conversation with council. I've had that conversation with inspectional services, and their opinion is that that would be considered a variance of use, because it's a use category that you're looking to modify.
Okay.
But we could certainly have that conversation with council. So for I guess, does the board feel that it has enough information to make a determination as to what it considers a service bay, or does the board feel that there's additional information it needs in order to stipulate what comprises a service bay under our bylaw?
Mr. Chair, I think I said a while ago, I think I need some more time to make that determination, but I defer to the rest of the board.
Mr. Chair, I agree as well. I think I need some more time to come to that decision.
Okay. Is there specific information that you would want from the applicant to help in that decision, or is there any information you want from the town?
The only thing I have just been poking around on Google Maps for a little while here is there a comparable situation in the town?
Yeah.
Which I don't know who can provide that information, because we're talking about private business, and who has that record is who knows. Trying to find if we have a situation where there's a three bay gas station, service station that has multiple lifts within a garage door. I couldn't find any, but it's tough to see within those stations from Google Maps. I need my X-ray building specs
Yeah.
there, but that's what I've been trying to find is there a precedent for us to fall on?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr.
this
Bernowski.
might be a bit of a Hail Mary, but might be worth thinking about. So given that our bylaws reference over Webster,
Yep.
I'm just wondering whether there are other bylaws that also don't define this term, but also reference Webster, and whether those boards have made any decision, have confronted this. I'm just trying to think, where can we look to for more guidance on this that would kind of be somewhat of a like interpretive situation? Given that I think that Webster indicates that it is about the space inside, but that still leaves some questions, to my mind, in terms of, what counts as the work area, for example. So I don't think that necessarily solves all the questions even once we get there. But that's just one thought. I don't know whether that's feasible, but I'm just trying to think creatively to figure out what would give us some more guidance.
Okay, well, I can certainly ask town council, and I can ask the director of planning if they have any recommendations.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So if I understood the comment from the applicant, it sounds like there were no lifts installed by him during his ownership.
That is correct.
Okay. So for some period of time, there have been 3 lifts through those 2 doorways. And so for me, that's a consideration because I do think that, we're talking about what Webster says and what we think that means. And so it may be no more than having to read it a few more times, but right now, I too would like a little bit more information. And if anybody, has any sense of what the legislative intent or the intent was when that provision was drafted, I don't know where you find that. But, I think we're just looking for any clues that we might find. And then the other thing, and this may be going a step further, but, I think when you were initially showing the plot plan, there was some sense that the building as proposed was actually going to get even closer to the rear property line. And so, if in fact we are willing to entertain this as a 3-bay proposition, I think that that's important because up until this point, there was really no request for any sort of a structural variance, right? In terms of any of the dimensional requirements.
Correct.
So if in fact that's something where that was going to be what they were proposing, that to me is a little bit different in nature. And that gets us back into then the sort of initial original analysis of what a variance requires in terms of the statutory finding. And I've been willing thus far to go on what's been found in the past, because I think Mary Winstanley O'Connor was part of the decision process in the most recent variance modification. And so I've been looking at this as a modification, but if we are starting from scratch on a variance, I think it'd be a very different looking analysis. So I guess what I'm asking is if that's going to get closer to the rear lot line, can they do it so that it doesn't do that? So that it would at least take that out of our consideration.
Mr. Hanlon.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that for the past quite some time, I've been physically ill and my computer has been even sicker than that. And so I'm just getting back to being able to look at this case and the case before it actually is as well. And I've been sort of struggling with it, but unable to participate. And at this point, I think I've missed enough that I'm no longer really present at this hearing and want to sort of let everybody know that other than possibly reviewing the transcript later on, I should be accounted for absent for this. It's really has been quite frustrating, but there's not anything I really can do about it. I'm at least connected with you guys now, but that has been really difficult. Eventually, artificial intelligence is going to help me through this, but as of this point, I'm really not able to follow the conversation.
Yeah, well, sorry to hear that you're not feeling well. And hope you're feeling better soon. But yes, we will consider you as absent for this. And should we continue, which it sounds like is the direction we're heading, if you do want to Mullen back in at a later date, you certainly may. But if you feel like you want to drop off the call now, I think you're fine in doing so. This is the final matter before us this evening, so.
That would actually be good for me. The computer has got a lot more resilience than I have, but I'm at the end right now.
Okay. So
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Holly.
So again, I sympathize with the owner. They have purchased one with called by definition 2-bay. They haven't added any. They're coming to the board. So with sympathize, we don't want to deter any future business owners from any of this. But again, this is a precedent that will be set, and so it is on us to decide. And so I've been thinking in a different way of this one. It's more a question or a clarification from the owner and their team. If there is electric load and various other loads that have to be increased in order to add this bay. Is that a fair assessment that there is other functionality that need to be addressed to add this bay? Enhancement of loads, or the pneumatic part of the lift, making sure that is addressed and all that. So it's an add of the bay through the lift, right, as a means, and it's an add there from a technical standpoint, an addition of a bay. Is that another way to look at it? Is that it is adding a load on other aspects of operation of the building?
You mean in terms of the utility services that are required?
Utility services, electrical loads, yeah. And if the same addition was done without the bay and was done as an ancillary, because it's not a primary use group, a primary use group is a garage bay, is a repair. We all understand that, but it is being used for the primary use group. But if it were another storage, we wouldn't have had an issue with it. But it's pure add of a lift and a garage bay for the primary use group of the building, and it has its own impact on the utilities load or any of that. So purely looking at from that standpoint, is that a add to the use group is how I'm seeing it. But I can understand the owner and sympathize with them that it could end up being a 3-bay. So more information clearly is required, but my inclination is to after getting information, is more to agree upon that it's it could be added. But I'll wait for the others to chime in as well once we get more information.
I don't know if it's going to increase the electrical load to have that one additional hydraulic lift. If it will require additional power to be brought into the station. My initial inclination is probably not.
Not necessary, John, as we have a plenty power and open circuit like this. The electric box is big enough to add for just lift and a couple lights in the bay.
Okay.
So the load is more on the park, people coming in, right? So that's another aspects we need to look at. That's the only other thing that comes to.
Yeah.
Circulation.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I have in my notes here that I think the recommendation is that we continue. From the board's perspective, want to have a conversation with town council and with the director of planning about what if they have a definition of service bay that we're unaware of. And I think we were looking for the applicant to dig up the proposed site plan and make sure that it addresses questions about landscaping, parking, accessibility. Were there other things that the board wanted the applicant to research or wanted me to research? Okay. Ms. Ralston, what is our night looking like on the 24th?
So we have two new ones, 307 Washington Street, and then we could add this one.
Okay. Okay. So Mr. Leone, would you be looking for a possible 2-week continuance? Does that sound?
Yeah,
Or do you need
that
more
sounds
time?
like a good plan.
Okay. Okay. So with that in mind, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington continue the public hearing for docket 3873 to 125 Broadway to Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
And a second?
Yep, second.
Mr. DuPont, thank you. Okay, so roll call vote of the board to continue. Mr. DuPont,
Yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Bernowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg. Nope. Mr. Rosenberg, is that a yes?
Yes. Sorry.
And the chair votes yes. So we are continued on docket 3873 125 Broadway. Thank you all very much for coming before the board this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Fine, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then the board, that is the last of our regular items. As we had just noted with Ms. Ralston, the next meeting of the board is Tuesday, February 24th. There are two new agenda items, docket 3889 73 Edgerton Road and 3890 172 Overlook Road. And we did previously continue 307 Washington Street to that night, and now 125 Broadway. So that will be coming up. Would also just note that the redevelopment board voted last night on language on a zoning article to modify that, or to add another exception to the definition of building height that would take into account properties of town that are located within the regulatory flood zones, where they often are required to construct the first level of habitability above the flood elevation, and therefore, as we had noted on a prior case, ran into a problem with building height, trying to get the building height worked out for a 2.5 stories where you can't start the first floor until considerably higher than normal. So there's language about that. There will be a public hearing either at the end of February or the beginning of March on that article, but that'll more information will be coming out from the ARB on that within the coming weeks. Then town meeting starts Monday after April vacation. And the town election is March 28th. It's usually in April, but it's in March this year. So make sure you're all registered to vote. Go out and vote. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your participation in tonight's meeting of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. I appreciate everyone's patience throughout the meeting. I would especially like to thank Colleen Ralston and Mike Champa for their assistance in preparing for and hosting this online meeting. Please note the purpose of the board's recording the meeting is to ensure the creation of an accurate record of its proceedings. It is our understanding that the recording made by ACMi will be available on demand at acmi.tv within the coming days. Arlington Community Media is dedicated to providing an electronic forum for the free exchange of information and ideas which reflect the talent, skills, interests, concerns, and diversity of the Arlington community. Please visit acmi.tv to learn more how to support this valuable public resource. If anyone has comments or recommendations, please send them via email to zba@town.arlington.ma.us. That email address is also listed on the Zoning Board of Appeals website. And to conclude tonight's meeting, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, Mr. Rosenberg.
Second,
Thanks, Mr. Dupont. So roll call vote of the board to adjourn. Mr. Dupont,
yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Bernowski,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. The board is adjourned. Thank you all so very much.